So get ready, because today we are going deep into CI/CD.
Yeah.
That pretty magical combo of continuous integration and continuous delivery.
Right.
The stuff that is totally changing how we build software.
Totally.
And whether you are like a total coding whiz or just like someone who is kind of curious how those app updates just appear, like clockwork, like we've got you covered.
Yeah. This is a really cool topic because it really touches like every part of how software is developed.
Oh, for sure.
It's not even just about speed.
Right.
It's also about that culture of quality and getting everyone working together like right from the start.
Yeah, I love that.
Right into the DNA of the project.
Okay, so let's start with something super basic.
Okay.
CI/CD. What does that even stand for?
So the CI part is continuous integration.
Okay.
And that's basically making sure that every time a developer pushes code up,
Right.
that it gets merged in smoothly with everyone else's code.
Makes sense.
All into this shared repository.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like, a really well choreographed dance
Okay.
where everyone's perfectly in sync,
Yeah.
adding their steps to make this perfect routine.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And, our source material, that Tech Shift podcast, they had this really great visual for how this works.
Yeah.
Imagine all these developers are pushing their code to this central hub.
Right.
That's the repository.
Yeah.
And every time they do,
Yeah.
automated tests just kick in
Oh, yeah.
to make sure everything still works together.
And that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
The automate.
Right.
Those tests are these little guardians that
Yeah.
are always checking for errors and conflicts, making sure
Yeah.
nothing breaks when that new code comes in.
Yeah.
It's being proactive,
Sweet.
quality control before it's a problem.
Yeah. So it's instead of waiting until the very end to do this big, huge.
Messy merge, it's little by little, so you catch the bugs early on.
Exactly. It's like building a house, You
Yeah.
got to make sure each brick is
Solid.
solid and it fits before you put the next one on.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense for the CI part.
Okay.
But what about that CD part?
So CD can either mean continuous delivery
Okay.
or continuous deployment.
Uh-huh.
And that's all about getting those code changes out to your users.
Yeah.
Super fast and making sure it's reliable, You don't want to break anything.
So is it a
Yeah.
conveyor belt that just takes the code straight from development out to users?
That's a great way to think about it.
Okay.
So with continuous delivery,
Yeah.
that code is always ready to go.
Okay.
It's deployable at any time.
Right.
It's gone through all that crazy testing and is all packaged up,
Yeah.
ready to go.
But it's still waiting for a person
Yeah, you still need someone.
to give it the green light.
Yes, ship it.
Exactly.
Got it.
And then you have continuous deployment,
Okay.
which takes that even further.
Okay.
So every single change,
Yeah.
as long as it passes the tests,
Yeah.
gets deployed automatically.
Wow.
You don't need a human to do it.
So that's the conveyor belt, just
It's on autopilot.
yeah, nonstop
Stop, yeah.
updates all the time.
That's a key advantage with CI/CD. That speed.
Yeah.
You can release updates way more often.
Right.
So you can actually keep up with what your users are asking for.
Right.
And what's happening in the market.
Totally. And it's way faster than back in the day when it would take months.
Oh yeah.
Remember those days?
I remember that.
It was awful.
Yeah, and not just the speed.
Yeah.
Those updates would come with
So many
all these bugs and glitches.
The worst.
Mm.
Awful.
Yeah, and so with CI/CD,
Now you have that automated testing.
right? So you can actually improve the quality of the software so much.
Yeah.
It's you catch those bugs before they even reach your users.
Totally.
Yeah, so the whole experience is just smoother and more reliable.
Way better.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've seen how CI/CD makes, building software faster
Right.
and makes the software way better.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's not, all perfect.
Right.
There's got to be some challenges, right?
Yeah, there were definitely some bumps in the road.
Okay. Yeah.
One of the big ones is actually setting up the whole CI/CD pipeline,
Right.
especially for teams who are brand new to this whole thing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Can be pretty complicated.
Yeah, it's
There's a lot going on.
So many moving pieces.
Yeah, all these tools and configurations, integrations,
Mhm.
where do you even start?
Right.
So that's where picking the right tools is super important.
Okay.
And luckily, we have so many options now. Remember that whole list we talked about? Jenkins, GitLab, Circle CI.
Yeah, it was a lot,
Yeah.
all those. Yeah.
So, like, how do you know which one is, like, right for you?
It really depends. Like, what does your team actually need?
Okay.
And what are you guys already using?
Right.
Some tools work better with, like, certain programming languages, you know?
Right.
And some are just easier to use with, like, the way you already work.
Okay.
It's kind of like, you know, finding the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
You wouldn't use a hammer to, like, screw in a light bulb.
Right. Totally.
So it's all about finding that, like, perfect fit for you guys.
Gotcha.
But once you've figured out your tools,
Yeah.
you got to make sure that whole pipeline, you know, the CI/CD pipeline,
Right.
that it's actually reliable
Yeah.
and, like, stable, you know?
Okay.
Because if that thing breaks down,
Yeah.
everything stops.
Man, that's
It's like a traffic jam
right.
on your digital highway.
Yeah. No one's going anywhere.
Yeah. So to avoid those, like, bottlenecks.
Yeah. You got to invest in the right infrastructure.
Right.
You need good monitoring, like systems, alerts, all that stuff.
Right.
And you got to have a plan. Like, if things go wrong,
Okay.
you know, how are you going to roll back?
Yeah, like a backup plan.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it's all about, like, building that system that can handle anything.
Right.
Right? It's like, you know, if you build a bridge,
Yeah.
you got to make sure it can stand up to, like, wind and earthquakes and all
You
that.
got it.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about, you know, the people involved too.
Yeah.
CI/CD, like, it requires a different way of thinking,
Okay.
like a cultural change.
So it's embracing that automation, right?
Yes.
And, like, everyone working together.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's all about sharing responsibility.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
where developers are involved in, like, you know, the whole process.
Right. From beginning to end.
From writing the code to testing it and deploying it.
Right. So not just, like, throwing it over the wall to the next person.
Exactly. It's much more integrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
And you know that Tech Shift podcast?
Yeah.
They had some great advice. Like, when you're switching to CI/CD,
Okay.
start small.
Okay.
Okay, then iterate.
So don't try to, like, do everything at once.
Right. Don't boil the ocean.
Yeah, love that.
You know,
start small.
Just automate a few things at first.
Correct.
Get comfortable with it.
Right.
And then you can, like, slowly expand it.
Okay, cool.
It's kind of like learning to dance. You know,
Yeah.
you wouldn't start with, like, the hardest steps.
Right. Start with the basics.
I got to master the basics
Yep,
first.
Physics.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other, like, tips or, you know, best practices that we should keep in mind?
One that I think is super valuable is treating like your CI/CD pipeline
Yeah.
as code.
Okay. What does that even mean?
So basically, you treat those configuration files
Okay.
just like you treat your application code.
Okay.
You put it in a version control
So
system.
you can, like, track all the changes, right?
Yeah, you can track changes. You can go back to older versions if you need to,
Right.
and it makes sure everything is, like, consistent.
So, like, no matter where you are,
Exactly.
that's all the same.
It's like, you know, you get all those benefits of version control,
Right.
collaboration, transparency. You can see what's going on.
Yeah.
But for, like, the infrastructure,
Yeah. That's really cool.
it's like you're holding that infrastructure to the same standards as your code.
Right. Because it's all important.
Exactly.
Yeah. Love it.
And that actually leads us to another super important part.
Testing.
I knew you were going to say testing.
I know, right?
It's like the most important thing.
It's fundamental to CI/CD, you know,
Okay.
because it gives you that confidence
Okay.
to release your code all the time
Right.
and know that, like, it's going to work.
It's not going to break.
Yeah, because you've caught those problems early on.
So, like, what kind of testing, like, should we be thinking about?
Well, it's not just about those, like, unit tests anymore.
You got to think about, like, integration tests, end-to-end tests,
Oh,
performance tests, the whole shebang.
wow.
All of it is important.
Okay.
Every type of test, like, has this role to play
Okay.
in making sure that your application is, like, top quality.
Yeah, so it's like having, like, a team of inspectors
Yeah.
just looking at every little piece
Every nook and cranny,
of your software.
make sure it's all good.
Yeah.
But as this whole CI/CD thing keeps evolving,
Yeah.
there's some really cool stuff happening.
Oh, cool. What's coming up?
Like, one trend that's getting a lot of attention is serverless computing.
Okay, serverless.
Yeah.
I've heard that. Yeah.
It's a game changer for CI/CD
Oh, wow.
because it makes deployment and scaling, like, so much easier.
Okay.
So teams can actually focus on, like, building the software
Yeah.
and not worry about, like, managing all those servers.
So it's
Like this invisible infrastructure
Sure.
that just, like, takes care of everything.
That would be amazing.
It is amazing. And then another trend to, like, watch out for
Okay.
is containers. And Kubernetes.
Containers, yeah, I've heard a lot about that.
Yeah, it's getting really popular.
Kubernetes, yeah.
Yeah.
So how does that all fit in with like CI/CD?
So containers, they like give you this really lightweight
Okay.
way to package up your application
Okay.
and deploy it.
Yeah.
So you can move it between like development, testing, production
Right.
without any problems.
Yeah.
And Kubernetes, that's like the brain
Okay.
that orchestrates all those containers.
Wow.
So it automates like deployment, scaling, networking, all that.
This is like having like a fleet of tiny little spaceships.
Yes.
You just like send them out.
You got it.
That's awesome.
It is.
Okay, so like as all of this stuff gets like more integrated with CI/CD,
Yeah.
we're just gonna see more and more like
More automation, more flexibility, more efficiency.
S6 like the future.
It is the future.
Yeah.
And you know, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I really want to emphasize
Okay.
that CI/CD is not just about like the technical stuff.
Right.
It's a whole philosophy.
Yeah.
It's a cultural shift.
Okay.
You got to be agile. You got to collaborate. You got to always be improving.
Yeah, I love that.
It's about like finding a better way to build software
Totally.
that's faster, more reliable, and just more enjoyable
Yeah, make it fun.
for everyone involved.
Yeah, totally.
And that brings us to like the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we're going to talk about like the big picture
Okay.
and leave you with some stuff to think about.
All right. So we are back for like the final part
Yeah, the grand finale.
of our CI/CD deep dive.
Deep dive, yeah.
You know, we've talked about like what it is, why it matters, how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we even like peeked into the future a little bit.
Yeah. It's been a wild ride.
That's been awesome.
But I think one thing's for sure,
yeah.
CI/CD, it's not just like a bunch of tools and, you know, processing.
Or it's like a totally different mindset.
It's a whole philosophy
yeah.
about building software.
Right. Like you got to prioritize speed,
Right.
quality, and like everyone working together,
Collaboration, yeah.
which like ultimately leads to better software, right?
Yeah. And happier users.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
So speaking of users, like
Huh?
let's talk about you, like the person listening to this right now.
Okay.
Why should you care about CI/CD?
Right.
Even if you're not like a developer?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Think about like all those apps that you use every day.
Yeah, all the apps on your phone, all the software on your computer.
Right, the ones that just like magically get better
Right.
every time you update.
Yeah. New features, no bugs. It just works.
Like seamlessly.
Seamlessly, yeah.
Those are probably using CI/CD.
You got it. That's the engine behind those awesome updates.
It's like that secret sauce.
Yeah, it's the magic behind the curtain.
Yeah, so even if we don't like
Right.
CI/CD is making our like digital lives better.
100%. And it's not just about the users either.
Okay.
Like think about all the companies and organizations
Right.
that are using CI/CD.
Yeah.
It helps them move faster,
Yeah.
adapt to change,
Right.
and just deliver like so much value.
It's like a superpower.
It is. It's like having a secret weapon in the tech world.
Okay, so as we like wrap this whole thing up,
Okay.
I want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay, Yumi.
So our source material, that Tech Shift podcast,
Yeah.
they had this really great question.
Okay.
Think about your favorite app.
All right.
Like the one you use all the time.
Yeah, the one you can't live without.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Now think about
Yeah.
how the developers of that app are using CI/CD.
Right. How are they using it?
Yeah, like
To make it so good.
to make it so awesome.
To add those features you love.
Yeah, and fix those bugs you hate.
Exactly. All that good stuff.
It's like seeing, you know, how the sausage is made,
Yeah, behind the scenes.
but like in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way.
So like if you're interested in learning more about this,
Yeah.
there's like a ton of resources out there.
Yeah, tons of tutorials, communities.
You can really go deep.
The rabbit hole is deep.
It's a deep rabbit hole.
For sure.
So keep learning
Keep exploring.
and keep on innovating.
You got it. The future's bright.
Yeah, the world of software development is like constantly changing, and
Right.
CI/CD is like riding the wave of the future.
Yeah, it's like being on the cutting edge.
Exactly.
Who knows? Maybe you'll build the next big app
Yeah,
using CI/CD to make it amazing.
I love it.
Yeah,
All right, that is our deep dive into CI/CD.
that's a wrap.
We learned a ton.
I know. It's been fun.
It was awesome. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.